As first of all, Robbie, congrats. I guess start with how important is defense, fielding your position to you and just how, I guess, proud you are of winning this award.
Super proud. I mean, I was really when I was presented with it and told that, I had won the award, I was kind of surprised because looking back at it, like you don't really think about the plays that you make in the field because you practice them so much like throughout the week that it's kind of just second nature with fielding the ball and covering your position. So that's a good thing if you're not thinking about it and thinking about the plays that you might have missed with comebackers to you or tosses that you would have had to the first baseman. So super happy with being able to put out on the field and put out on display everything that we practiced throughout spring training and throughout the entire season of practicing PFPs. And, a lot of guys look at that practice and, think about it of being boring and monotonous and, just repetitive every week, but it plays a huge role in things of, it's an easy out it's given to you. So being able to cover my position is huge.
How much of it too is your background playing football? So obviously you're athletic than maybe other pitchers, and also just working with Joe, who's really good behind the plate and, kind of controlling the ground game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, being playing football and having, more a little different athletic background than, specifically just baseball, I think that helps everybody. Like I believe that that's a huge component and, every kid should be trying to play multiple sports so they don't just specify on one sport until as late as possible. So being an all around athlete, being able to do different movements and put your body in different positions and get out of those positions is super important. And then touching on the Joe thing, I saw a stat the other day which was crazy. Like when I was throwing to Joe, runners that were trying to steal were getting thrown out at a 90% clip, which that's insane. And it's a testament to how quick he is transferring behind the plate, and then how well he and I worked together. It was super cool to be able to see that. You don't think about numbers in that way when you're playing. You just go out there and that you execute well. But being able to actually see the physical numbers like that is super cool.
Billy, you got anything before I keep asking?
Yeah, no, I'll jump in for just one question. We'll throw it back. Robbie, first off, congratulations on
Thank
the
you.
year. And I wondered if you could just share thoughts about how you felt about the season, how special it was to come out of spring training, go to Pensacola Double A, get moved up to Triple A, win the award as Organizational Pitcher of the Year, all of that together. How meaningful has all this been to you?
It's definitely special. I mean, being able to start the season, the way that I did with the guys that we started with in Double A and had a great rapport with everybody that was there and great relationships with the coaches, and it was just all around just a fun group to be around. And obviously seeing Joe get moved up and see the success he had right off the bat in Triple A, and me continuing to work down in Double A with the guys that I was with, and having the great time that we had down there. Um, Super special places. I mean, Pensacola, the fan base was amazing. Being able to go out and throw in front of those crowds and the atmosphere and the environment of having the field on the water was awesome. And then, getting moved up to Jacksonville and being back with guys that I was with in spring training that I hadn't gotten to see since spring training was another super special thing. And being able to just get handed off from one really good coaching staff to another really good coaching staff. It benefits the player a lot. There's not a feeling of, hey, I'm going from a good coaching staff to a staff that I don't have any relationship with prior or rapport with. That wasn't the case at all. You build those relationships in spring training, and even though you don't see those guys for a couple of months once the season starts, you pick back right where you left off. From spring training, and that's how it was with the players and the coaches. And being comfortable is huge, and being able to be put in a spot where you're comfortable and you're not getting moved up to a new level and you're uncomfortable, not sure about yourself and not sure how you're going to compete with the guys that you're around. There's no sense of feeling in Jacksonville or Pensacola like that. It was great.
And I just want to add one other thing too is your last three starts in Pensacola. I think you really started to get into that groove that carried into Jacksonville. I was curious, did you change anything or what really clicked maybe that last couple starts you had for the Blue Wahoos and then enabled you to go the rest of the year in Jacksonville at a higher level and have that kind of success?
Yeah, so last offseason, training in a new facility at Maven in Atlanta put me in a great spot coming into spring, and I hadn't felt better, in my prior 2 seasons of baseball than I had, this last spring training. So, um, leaving spring, I started off the season really strong in the regular season, and then I kind of hit like a 3 game skid where I started walking guys. I think I gave up like 13 runs in those 3 games, and I walked 13 guys. So it's like, you know, whether each walk that I, gave up ended up scoring, like the 13 walks were, comparable to the 13 runs that I gave up. And I was frustrated with that. I had been throwing well for the beginning of the season for, of I think it was 4 to 6 starts, like was great. And then I hit that 3 game skid and I'm kind of looking at things and I'm like, what's going on? Like I'm not getting complacent with anything. I'm not really frustrated with anything. Like body feels good. I'm healthy. I'm throwing hard still. And it was just you kind of go back to the drawing board of like, you got to try something new. Because, you get in a groove and you want to continue to do the same thing over and over again. But for that 3 weeks, it wasn't working anymore. So I was like, I got to find something else. So I was able to go to the drawing board with Coach Eichhoff that I had there, who he's our pitching coach and he's amazing at what he does, and he helped me a lot with not only like the physical side of like, hey, maybe you should try this drill, just the mental side of things of like, hey man, I know it sucks to walk 13 guys and give up 13 runs, but like it's going to happen again, and the biggest thing is being able to respond even quicker than what I did this last year of like, it's not going to be a 3 game skid anymore. It'll be 1 game and be like, what did I not do correctly here? What did I do different? Or what can I focus on to make sure that this doesn't happen again? And so I got off the mound a whole bunch more, like throughout the week in practice, and threw into a 9 pocket. I threw to a catcher, just making sure that I was feeling everything that I was feeling in catch play, the same feelings on the mound, and making sure that everything was staying driven through the catcher and I was staying in the strike zone. And, I think that just really translated to, like you said, those last 3 starts that I had with Pensacola where things really got rolling. And, I continued to do that throughout the season. Like I had a bunch of teammates like, you getting off the mound again today? And like guys will do that to you, but you got to do what you got to do to make your body feel good and make your mind feel right and ready for the start. So, yeah, those 3 weeks weren't fun to go through, but it definitely helped me, throughout the entirety of the season, thrust me into that feeling that I had throughout the rest of the season, where I stepped out on the mound and I had complete and utter confidence in myself and my coaching staff that was calling pitches and the players that were behind me.
Before I forget, are you going to be going to that training facility in Atlanta again?
I am, yes. Yeah. I'll probably leave Reno like mid-January. I'll go down there. Kind of the same thing that I did last year. I think I left Reno like January 19th or something and was in Atlanta for 4 weeks and then drove from Atlanta to Jupiter.
I guess the thing to ask you, because I haven't spoken to you since the AAA national title game. Obviously, individual result aside, what happened when you gave up the home run, but whose idea was it to kind of maybe have you go, out in relief, and just even though the result for you personally didn't go as you planned, just what do you think you maybe showed the organization or yourself, putting yourself in that situation?
It was kind of like a spur of the moment type of thing. That day I think would have been my normal bullpen day. So like, why not throw it in the game? It would be cool. It was cool to be able to throw in my home state and potentially be able to come out and you know slam the door on a really good season. It's still a little bitter, but like the big things that I had to like take away from it, like I came out and I averaged 98 that inning and ended up hitting like 99.7 or something. So like personal best for me, like in those two things. Obviously, you don't want to give up the home run, and that's frustrating in itself. But like I was happy with how I went out there and I filled up the zone and like executed everything that we'd been taught throughout the season. Like the home run I gave up was on a first pitch in the count, and I threw a first pitch strike. And so there's not much you can do when a guy puts a good swing on a ball. Like it's going to happen, and it's going to happen again at some point. So just awful timing for it. So, but that's where teammates come in, and Barry came up, and Winkler came up, and Acosta came up, and we had great at bats that entire inning, and guys strung it together and put us in a position to win, and ended up winning the game. So I'd probably feel a lot different about it if we didn't win the game, but the fact that we won the game, like I'm not too upset about it. I turned the page pretty quick and was like, all right, like, hey, you went out, you threw hard, and you know, let's turn our head to next season. So
Looking to next season, spring training, obviously you were a non-roster invite, just kind of get your feet wet in the new organization. What are your expectations this time around?
I mean, I'm not trying to change anything. I want to go in and do the exact same thing that I did last year. I was very confident with what I displayed last year, and the entirety of the season. Just come in, be ready to take on more innings than the year before, and continue to refine my stuff. And I'm excited to see all my teammates again. So it'll be good.
Josh or Chris, anything from the Reno contingent that wants to jump in?
Yeah, I'll jump in really quick. You kind of touched on this, Robbie, and sorry I can't get my video to work.
You're good.
What do you think the difference was? I mean, usually when players make that jump to AAA from AA, it's a learning process. You got to get your bearings together. And boy, you really elevated your game when a lot of players might take a step back initially. What do you think the key to that success was?
I think the mindset and then just the support and like the backing that I had from, the entire staff and my family, my girlfriend and her family of just like, hey, nothing's changing. And then like even the teammates that I had up there of, they know that like I have a pretty strong mindset about things, and, I want to throw against big leaguers. So like that's one step closer to being able to do that. And, some of those guys that you're throwing against have been big leaguers, and then you're throwing against some rehabbing big leaguers. So it's like, that's where you want to be. And you're just continuing to strive for, the potential of the end goal of where you want to be up, which is in the big leagues. And so being able to go up there and just not change my mindset that I had in double A, or even single A from the years prior, of just stepping on the mound and beating whoever's in front of you. So I don't think that I'm handicapped at all to what level that it's at. It's just I approach every hitter the same, whether they're a rookie ball hitter or a triple A hitter. So I think that both boded very well for me this last year.
Hey, Robbie, you're gonna ask a question that may have been asked, or I clicked into the Teams meeting instead of the Zoom meeting, so I'm a moron.
Yeah.
But I read some stuff that you moved kind of over more to the first base side, and that kind of helped you get some of the velocity and the bite back on your breaking stuff. If you can just walk us through kind of what you did in the off season to prepare for last year and why you saw such a big jump with your stuff, that'd be great.
Yeah, so in 23, honestly, in high school, throughout everything, like I threw from the first base side, and threw from there, you know, once I started pro ball. And then last year when I started struggling a little bit, we were tinkering with everything that we could. And so I kind of got moved over to the middle-ish, like third base side of the rubber, as an experiment to see if that was going to help anything play any different. And it didn't. Still struggled last year. So, yeah, I just that last offseason when I went to Maven and I was talking to Sean, my pitching guy, and he was like, hey man, like where are you comfortable at? Because like I can tell you're not comfortable. And I kind of just explained to him, I was like, I want to go back to everything that I was doing in 2023. Like I threw great in 2023, and then we came into 24 and we started trying to change my breaking ball. We started trying to change, slot, added a changeup, which lowered my arm slot. And like, now I have a good changeup, so I'm not, the struggle was good for me last year. I learned a lot, growth from, my mindset and also physically, like on the field. Um, but like, we were just messing with things in 24. Like, and I wasn't happy with it. I didn't really see the necessity in changing anything of, why are we changing stuff or fiddling with stuff after coming off of a really good year in 23. Um, but I wanted to be a big leaguer as soon as I could. So I was listening, and I think that that's another another part of the growth that I had of like, hey, it's okay to say no to people sometimes and say, I'm going to do what I know works best for me. And so I learned that, and it took an entire season to do that. But going to Maven and going to Atlanta is what taught me that. Like talking to Sean, he was like, "Go back to what you're comfortable doing. Then, like, we're not asking you to come here and continue to do what you didn't feel good doing." So, went back to the side of the rubber that I was comfortable at and started throwing the breaking ball that I was comfortable throwing again. Um, and everything just started merging back together, back to how I felt in 23, and the confidence came back, and it was just the perfect storm of everything of meeting the right person that was going to support me with the decisions that I was making, and then a really good mix of analytics as well as just like trusting what your eyes are telling you about how pitches are moving.
Was that the first time you had gone down to Atlanta and Maven? And I guess what kind of sparked that? How long were you there? And what was kind of the emphasis for going down there?
Yeah, so Maven's a fairly new facility down there. I think within the last 4 years or so they opened. And a buddy of mine, Dylan Lesko, who got drafted to the Padres, also is from Atlanta, and so he's living down there. He had been training down there for a couple of years, and Dylan had been telling Sean about me because Dylan and I got pretty close when we were with the Padres, and telling Sean about, me and how much time Dylan and I were spending together and became really good friends, and how Dylan thought that I would benefit from going down there. And so after 2023, I stayed up in Reno, kept training. Like I didn't want to change anything. Training wise that I did the year before. And then I struggled in 24. I was like, all right, obviously like what I did last off season, wasn't working for me. So I need a little more help than what I can get in specific areas in like California and Reno and stuff. So I went down to Sean, tried it out, clicked with him right away. Great guy. Young mind, and like he's fresh out of baseball, so he knows what the struggles that players are going through right now, and different things that we might face that he could have faced also. And so went down there and started training with him in January last year. January 20th was the first day I started training, and left February 12th and went down to Jupiter for spring, and was just in a great spot. I mean, the environment that you're training in Maven, like there's a lot of big leaguers that are in there. So you're training with guys and learning from guys and seeing how big leaguers work. So it was huge. And I'm very, very thankful for them for taking me in and being able to help me.
Is that something where like immediately it just clicks, or is it something that took a little bit of time to kind of get back to where you felt like you were in 23?
Certain things like have that click feeling to it. Like the confidence takes a little bit to bring back until like hitters step in the box, and you're not just throwing to a nine pocket or to a catcher or throwing plyo balls against the wall and like thinking like, hey, yeah, my body's moving really well, but is this going to get hitters out? And so I could tell that my body was moving way better and I was way more mobile and my arm path was way cleaner. So that's something that clicked. But like the confidence didn't really hit until I threw my last live of the off season and I threw against a really good lineup of hitters and I struck out a bunch of guys. So I was like, all right, so this stuff's gonna work and rolled right into spring with it and stuff continued to work. So that confidence continued to build itself up throughout the season.
You mentioned wanting to get to the big leagues as soon as possible, not being able to get there last year despite the success. Was that disappointing for you, or how did you kind of take that?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely disappointing. You're throwing and you're throwing well, and you're hoping for that call. But you can't play GM, and you can't as a player or as anybody that's not the GM. You can't play GM. So like I don't get to make the decisions, and all I really had to focus on was, hey, I'm going to go out and do what I know I can do every single week, and attempt to force a decision to be made. And so that's all I did last year. And I mean, obviously, yeah, it would have been nice to be a big leaguer, but it's a business, and as upsetting as it may be, like you got to understand that you're not the person that's making the decisions. So um, my time will come, and I just got to be able to continue to go out and put the product on the field that I know I can put out there.
Given that you went to Maven and had success last year, I guess what's the off-season plan this year to go back there? Do you feel good where you're at, or I guess how does that work?
Yeah, so I'll head back there middle of January again this next year or this off season, and yeah, I'm just lifting and doing like my beginning of throwing routine right now, weighted balls, and starting to move the body around again in a baseball environment and atmosphere, and then once I start touching the mound, getting off the mound, throwing bullpens and stuff, it'll be around that kind of beginning of January time. And once we start ramping it up to lives and everything, that's when I'll be heading down to Maven.
You didn't have a lot of failure in your baseball career before 2024, and I don't even know if that was a failure. But what did you learn about yourself, or how did you grow as a player during that more difficult year?
Uh, I mean, definitely just learning to trust yourself and trust your body of like, hey, people are gonna try and put a thumbprint on you and they're gonna try and, be the reason or be able to say that they're part of the reason of why you're a big leaguer. And it's okay to say no to certain people. So, I was listening. I think I had a lot of people telling me what they thought I should do, and I was listening to a little too many of those people telling me what they thought I should do to be a big leaguer. So really just being able to find, the happy medium of like, all right, who really has my best interest in mind and what stuff actually makes sense. Because if I'm getting told that my breaking ball is not good, but it has a 30% swing and miss rate on it, you probably shouldn't stop throwing that breaking ball. So, yeah, it's just little things like that, and not getting too jumpy at when people bring up, I think that this could help you. Well, like let's look at give me some reasons why you think it would help me, instead of immediately jumping into it and trying it. And then also just like I think the off season before the year I struggled, I think that I came home and I was just busy that entire off season running around and trying to fit everything into that little time that I felt like I missed out on the year before. Um, Being able to come home and spend the off season relaxing and really letting your body recover and spending time with family and the people that you love that supported you throughout the entire season. That was also a big thing for me last off season, and also that I've been doing this off season of just like not thinking about baseball. It's yeah, I had a good season, but that was last year. Now we're moving on to next year, and I'm not going to think about what happened the year prior. Like we're turning the page, and we're going to try and do it again next year.
And then just last one for me, have you let yourself envision, making your big league debut? Are there daydreams of that, or do you just not want to think about that until it happens?
I mean, there's definitely a thought in the mind. Like that's growing up as a kid playing baseball. Like that's what every kid wants to do, and every kid dreams about it. I think that no matter how much you think about it and how much I dream about it, and try to imagine what it's going to be like, I think it's going to blow it away. Like I don't think that there's going to be anything that you can think or try and compare to that is really going to be similar or close to, how I actually feel when I get up there. So, hopefully it's soon, and I'm not trying to jump the gun on it or anything. So, yeah, I'll just continue, hoping for it and working towards it.
Thanks for the time. Have a good off season.
Yep. Thank you.
You mentioned, I guess obviously you don't want to look too far back, but just is there an accolade, a metric, a stat, some sort of maybe a development on a pitch that you're most proud of from this season?
I really like that's why I brought up the stat between me and Joe with the 90%, you know, runners caught stealing rate. Because I mean, like the personal stuff, like the velo and like the strikeouts and the swing and miss rate stuff, like that's great. Like that's what you work towards selfishly, and like, that's what you're trying to get paid for. But being able to work with Joe and catch runners at a 90% clip, like that's not seen a lot. And so I take a lot of pride in that because it represents that, I'm getting the ball to Joe quick enough for him to be able to transfer quick enough to throw out, really, really, really good athletes running on the bases. And so I think that is the stat that I take the most pride in, just because I have such a good relationship with Joe, and I know who he is behind the scenes of, like, all the awards and everything. And it just makes it that much better. Like that relationship that I have with him off the field, and it just kind of shows its head a little bit when we're on the field. Like it's pretty awesome.
Well, you're a Gold Glover this year. He was one last year. So, uh,
Yeah.
have you guys, maybe you two, even I guess Thomas, Dax is there. You guys talked about the possibility. You guys saw a lot of guys, shuttling back and forth between AAA and the majors. Like, whether it's advice you or like, experiences you heard from the guys that have made it, or just the envision, like having this core that's been brought together to this organization one day leading, the Marlins.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been talked about, and like the guys that you named there, there's those guys and so many more that we had such good relationships with in the locker room, that like I think that a lot of those guys in the locker room from this last year from the national championship team are going to make a big impact this next year, and in the future just on the Marlins organization. So like, yeah, we definitely talk about it, and everybody's looking forward to it. Of just kind of surprising everybody, really. Of just there's a lot of guys in the organization in the minor leagues that don't get talked about that we believe that a lot of guys should get talked about. So it's pretty awesome to have that deep and that much depth of a core in one organization.
Who are some of those guys? Give them a shout out.
Pat Monteverde, who I got pretty close with, and then Fenric Tremble in Double A when I was playing with him. He impressed me a lot for the short amount of time that I got to spend with him. Spencer Bramwell, great teammate, and just some of the craziest power that I've seen in a hitter. And I mean, there's so many guys. Like it's awesome, to be able to be around all those guys and be able to hear their stories and different ways of how they came into the organization. So it was a lot of fun this last year with everybody.
Okay. Uh,
Robbie, I want to just ask you about one fun non-baseball experience you had in Pensacola. You joined us for that mullet fish toss
Yeah,
event
yeah.
out at the beach. Had you ever tossed a frozen fish before?
Not a frozen fish. I mean, I've gone fishing and I've tossed fish to my buddies, but not on a beach. And the fish wasn't frozen, and we weren't measuring how far we threw it. So that was definitely a first. That was so much fun. That whole environment, like I didn't even know that it was as big of a thing as it was. So I was super grateful to be able to be a part of that.
Yeah, it was fun. That was fun being with you. And thanks for joining us that day. And again, I'll close by just saying have all the best to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Who threw it furthest?
I did. I won. Yeah.
it should be.
Yeah, I would be embarrassed if I didn't.
Do you throw it, well, you throw it like a rugby type of ball
No,
or
you threw it like a baseball. You like
really?
you bent the fish in half because it's frozen, so you bend it and then you're holding it and you chuck it, and hopefully it goes end over end and not sideways. So it was a good time. It was a lot of fun.
Hey, thanks everybody. Thank you, Robbie. And sure we'll see you in spring training in Jupiter before you know it.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, awesome. You'll get a Dropbox link with the whole media session shortly.
Okay,
All
awesome.
right,
Thank you.
perfect. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Adam. Appreciate it. Thanks, Robbie.
Thank you guys.